Oh, we will talk about Outer Worlds. I saw this at E3. Now, I have to say, this kind of sparked my interest a bit. It's a game called Outer Worlds by Obsidian. And we all know, that they're the masters of RPG. And I saw this, and I want to look at the trailer now. The game's going to be released in the next few days. So I wanted to watch this trailer with you guys to see what we think here first. And then there's an article about it as well that we're going to go over. And we're going to discuss whether it's something that we're interested in or not as a community. So let's watch here. Let's see what the Outer Worlds has in store for us. Let's get professional. Get that big screen on in there. Let's listen.
Look who it is. The stranger that came out of nowhere and now has everyone talking. Some people want you to be a savior, a shining beacon of hope. Those people clearly haven't met you yet. Here we go!
That's cool.
So, what can I get you? Some soap? Everyone loves soap.
Remember, no matter what happens out here, it'll all be your fault. Good luck.
So interesting to see. October 25th is the release date on that one. No. Let's go back here. So October 25th being the release date of Outer Worlds. To me, yeah, I hope we can fly ships as well. I looked into this a little bit. I'm going to read the article and then I'll give you guys my take on the Outer Worlds, at least, from what I'm gathering here. But Kotaku did a piece on it and I wanted to read it here for you guys. Let's see down here. They did a review of sorts, and they say the very first quest in the Outer Worlds, Obsidian's highly anticipated first-person RPG out October 25th, asked me to make what felt like an impossible choice. On one side was a community of outsiders frustrated by corporate control. Their outpost was something like a worker's paradise. They were well-fed and mostly happy, surviving by relying on each other. I admired their leader, Adelaide, for the passion that she had for her people. On the other side was the corporate-owned town they left, led by Reed Thompson, an idiot that didn't seem to realize that asking his workers to only canned fish for protein led to the population being ravaged by plagues. Despite how much I hated Thompson, he is right that the people working for him suffered because of the workers that had abandoned the town to form their own community. Interesting dilemma to be put into. I like the storyline so far. I still don't know if I did the right thing. So this is one of those. So it seems to me like the Outer Worlds, based upon this author's review right here, so far reminds me of like a fable, like where you're making choices and those choices affect the other NPCs around you, and they also affect perhaps your own stats in that regards. This again is like a speculation, but it seems like it's interesting so far. The choice I would make would destroy one of those two communities, says the author, permanently. Wow. I managed to find an in-between option, which disbanded the outpost of deserters, but also allowed for deeper forms in the town. I was satisfied with this for a short while, but when I got back to my ship, I saw that I'd receive a bit of memorabilia for my adventure, a town sign. As I sidled up to examine it, its description told me that I had taught the deserters something important about their dream of a life without corporations to never dream. So that's pretty cool so far. The universe that the Outer Worlds takes place in is bleak. Halcyon is a corporate-owned colony consisting of 2 planets of workers, a mining outpost on an asteroid, a ship called the Groundbreaker that acts as a way station for groups of workers going to and from, and a prison planet. Things are in dire straits as the workers suffer low wages and long hours while the wealthy live in a gilded city, unconcerned with their plight. So this sounds like kind of like gameplay based upon class warfare, which is interesting, especially in today's world. It's pretty relevant. So it's an interesting story. So the story, I give props. So already, just based upon what I'm reading, it sounds like the storyline itself is very intriguing to me. So I'm digging the story so far, but I'm not quite sure about the gameplay. Sometimes with Obsidian titles, I like the fact that they are RPG related. You know, I like RPG, but on the other end of the spectrum, sometimes the gameplay feels a little disconnected in the graphics with Obsidian titles. And I think that has to do with the artists that they employ. And it's just, sometimes it's not my style. But it seems to me like the storyline's pretty nice. The other thing I don't like about some types of Obsidian titles is they very rarely make their games multiplayer. Sounds a bit like Dishonored, says Vagna. Yeah. Like I guess I'm a purist in a way. I'm very biased when I say this about games. Like I love to see like multiplayer features in games. Like I've always liked to play games with other people. Now in RPG situations, it's a very 50-50 kind of scenario because it's very hard to put multiplayer in an RPG because a lot of people will say it ruins their experience because sometimes, you know, people can be people and just ruin your play style, you know. And I get that. Like you get a lot of that with the Elder Scrolls Online community. You see a lot of people in those communities say that sometimes it's not the greatest. Because people can really poop on the gameplay and make it not as immersive. And I get that. But if there was a way to kind of mesh it together, like I am an old school Ultima Online player. So like when it comes to like RPGs and multiplayer, to me, like when I'm thinking about Ultima Online, I want something like that back. Yeah, E-Rock's like, hell yeah, dude. Yeah, like Ultima Online was the shizzle. And I really want that kind of brought back to existence in some type of form or format where we get like upgraded graphics and, you know, like those same mechanics are built into the game. But anyway, yeah, so that's why I kind of get disappointed about when I read these types of new games coming out, especially by Obsidian, that Obsidian doesn't take the time to think about like multiplayer aspects. They don't have co-op in this either. So that's kind of like the two negatives for me when it comes to this game here. Let's keep reading. The Outer Worlds acts as a mirror this way. You answer these questions via the myriad of choices you can make in the game. Your moral standing met with visible consequences. That's cool. You can also avoid all these questions in favor of just shooting everyone you see and taking everything in sight. Though as time goes on, you will see how your selfishness affects the people around you. You play a very, yeah, that's so interesting. Your actions obviously affect the faction or your standing with other groups within the game, so they will treat you based upon your actions, which is, you know, we've seen that in other games before. I tend to like those types of things because it makes you think about the consequences. It makes you think about your choices in the game, and that's cool. So I do like that kind of gameplay. You play a variable that the corporations hadn't accounted for in the quest for total economic and social control. The scientists and outlaws, Phineas Wells has unfrozen you from 70 years of cryogenic sleep. Sounds very Halo. You were a passenger on the colony ship The Hope, which houses some of the greatest scientists, artists, and philosophers Earth had to offer, but never made it to the destination after being knocked out of its planned route with their help. Wells thinks that Halcyon can recover, but he needs you to find the chemicals. He needs to wake up the rest of the colonists who have been frozen for so long that they would otherwise experience what Wells calls explosive cell death upon being thawed. Your perspective as someone outside of the colony is one that will eventually shape its future. So, you know, your decisions, your choices, your actions in the game are very important. So that's cool that they make that a focus in the gameplay as well. It says, for players concerned about Obsidian's past issues with buggy releases, that's an understatement. That's an understatement. I think they took enough time on this one, though. I think they took enough time on this one. I don't think we're going to see a lot of the bugs that we saw in some of the prior Obsidian releases. Vega says, I do like single player games as well. It's nice to just chill and not have someone ruin the immersion in game. Yeah, so from time to time, I get what Vegna's saying. Yeah, from time to time, I do like those kind of single solo mode experiences, just like Vegna does. I was a big Morrowind guy. Played Morrowind till like I think I wore out the disc when I had my Xbox console back in the early 2000s, man. So like I get you, Vegna, I get you. Snowfox says, sounds like you're going to get backstabbed in this story. Like, yeah, it really does, dude. It really does. Good to be able to pause when your cat starts running around like a lunatic. Says Z-Rock, yes. So it says you can breathe a sigh of relief. The game isn't quite bug free. My game had a hard time whenever I visited the abandoned monster infested town of Cascadia with texture pop in and longer loading times. Oh no. And for some reason it believed that one of my companions was dead, making it impossible to finish their personal quest. Oh, come on, Obsidian. Come on. Have they learned nothing? Like, ugh. And snagged me in a deadpan explanation that they didn't survive at the end of the game. You know, I can understand games in development having bugs like these, but when they're releasing this game, this is going to be a $60 game, okay? You're paying $60 for this game. When you're paying $60, old school style publisher coming out with the game October 25th, if you have anything like this, I just call piss poor management. I just call piss poor execution. There should be no bugs on a game that's going to sell for $60 coming out with a release date that has been in development for quite some time. There is no excuse for there to be any bugs in a game. It should be play tested beyond belief. Beyond belief. Vegna says it can't be worse than Skyrim. Oh my God. Neither of these issues were exactly game breaking for me, says the author. Well, that's good to know. I mean, not being able to finish a mission because you're bugging out and the NPC character that you need to be with you is not, that's kind of game breaking. I mean, that pops me out of the immersiveness right away. And especially if in your solo play, single mode player game with no co-op, with no multiplayer, that's kind of game breaking a little bit. I think the author's being a little too nice on that. His playthrough didn't suffer, blah, blah, blah. This is Obsidian game. The people have been begging for one with polish. So overall, he says he disliked it because the game sets the bar high. The places where the writing doesn't go far enough are glaring. Interesting, because to me, it sounded like the writing was spot on. It sounds like it was spot on, but it seems like when the game pushes you to higher levels of difficulty or challenges you to the extreme, it says that the author says that the places where the writing is not meeting its standards. So that's interesting. This is going to be on all platforms: PlayStation, Xbox One, PC, Switch. You guys know what I think about the Switch. Vegna says, this is why I'm going to wait till Xmas for a few game patches to fix bugs like this. Yeah, completely. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below that are watching on YouTube. Everybody, hands. Let's give a round of applause for our fans here live, giving us opinions here as we do when we're live. And put your comments down below, share and like this video, and I will see you guys on the next video.